You are listening to Minor Metrics. I'm your host, Chris Mellon. This show is powered by a script written by Locke Fox and Eve Prosper. This content is aimed at players participating in the mining profession and is provided nightly to give you, dear listener, the information you need to sell your product at the right price. Starting off with Tritanium, we see the Rorqual crash, followed by a recent recovery. Zooming in, we see our price took a dip and the price is holding at 4.2. I suspect we have further to fall, and I recommend you hold your Tritanium for at least a few more weeks to take advantage of the next peak in price. Next up is Pyrite with a very similar downward trend. Zooming in, we see our prices moving sideways after a slight dip yesterday. I recommend you hold and wait for another price hike. Mexilon is showing us the highest price it has commanded over the last 12 months. Zooming in, we see a stall in price just above 80. I think this price is on the way back down, and I recommend you liquidate now. Next up is Isagen with a horrific crash after the Rorqual changes. Zooming in, we see a recovery that is slow and staggered. There is a lot of room for growth, and I recommend waiting for the price to top off. Next up, we have Noxian with a robust recovery after the Rorqual crash. Zooming in, we see that the price is still trying to grow, but is being slowed down by the RSI line at the bottom, or in other words, how overbought the mineral actually is. This sluggish movement combined with the RSI tells me the price is on the way down any moment. Your window to sell has been extended another day, and I recommend selling everything immediately. Moving through to Isagen, we see its very unusual pattern over the last year, with a peak and crash recently despite the pressure applied by Rorquals. Zooming in, we see our price moving sideways with slight growth. I recommend holding Isagen and waiting for a spike in price. For the last of our standard minerals, we have Megasite with a similar pattern to Isagen on the yearly graph. Zooming in, we see the staggered fall in price is going to continue on into the future, and if you're looking to sell, you've missed your most recent chance. I recommend holding out for another local peak in price. Morphite is incredibly stable on the yearly graph, and zooming in, we see we're in a long-term stall out in price, hovering at about 9,500. If you can hold for about 6 months, you may be able to supply another peak in price. Otherwise, it isn't a bad move to sell now, as the price seems stable and will likely move sideways for the next few months. This has been Chris Mellon for Minor Metrics. That'll do it for the show. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to check tomorrow for another episode.